The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead, but nothing could drown out the shatter of glass against the tile floor. Isaiah's heart slammed against his ribs as he stared at the jagged shards at his feet. Remnants of the mirror Levi had just hurled in a fit of rage that twisted his beautiful face into something unrecognizable. "You think this is easy for me?" Levi spat, his voice cracking like thunder over the Hudson, eyes wild with a storm Isaiah had never seen brewing. In that instant, as blood trickled from Levi's knuckles onto the scattered fabric of half-tried outfits, Isaiah realized their love wasn't a fairy tale etched in neon lights. It was a fragile mosaic, one wrong step from crumbling into the gutters of Brooklyn. Trying on clothes, he pulled back the curtain, revealing something that stunned me. It wasn't the way Levi's lithe frame filled out the faded denim jacket, shoulders broader than I remembered from our lazy Sundays tangled in sheets. No, it was the tattoo peeking from his collarbone, fresh ink still angry and red. A fractured heart, pierced not by an arrow but by a chain link, scripted beneath it in looping cursive. "Forgive me, Dad." My breath caught, a vice squeezing my chest as the fitting room mirror reflected us both, me, frozen in thrift store khakis, him, exposed in more ways than one. We'd come here to escape the weight of his family's Thanksgiving dinner looming like a guillotine. But now, in this cramped space smelling of mothballs and regret, Levi's secret stared back at us, demanding to be seen. I reached out, fingers trembling as they brushed the edge of the tattoo. "Levi, what the hell is this?" My voice was a whisper, barely audible over the muffled chatter of shoppers outside. He flinched, yanking the curtain closed with a metallic screech, sealing us in our private confessional. The air thickened, heavy with the unsaid, the years he'd spent hiding the bruises under long sleeves, the whispers in his Southern Baptist household about fixing, the son who loved boys instead of Bible verses. Levi sank onto the wooden bench, elbows on knees, head bowed like a penitent in some forgotten cathedral. "It's nothing, Isaiah. Just stupid ink. Means I tried to make it right once. For him, but it wasn't nothing. That tattoo was a scar on his soul, inked the summer before we met, when Levi was 19 and still believed his father's love could be bartered for obedience. We'd connected 6 months ago at a queer poetry slam in the village. His verses about forbidden touches wrapping around my own hidden longings like smoke from a joint passed in the alley. I was 22, a barista by day and aspiring photographer by night, capturing the grit of New York through my lens, the rainbow flags fluttering defiantly against gray skyscrapers, the drag queens owning the sidewalks at dawn. Levi, with his poet's soul and artist's hands, fit into my frame like he was born for it. Our first kiss tasted of cheap Merlot and possibility, under the glow of the Brooklyn Bridge, where the city lights danced on the East River like fireflies mocking our fears. Now, in this dingy fitting room of Vintage Vortex on Bedford Avenue, the illusion cracked. "Your dad," pressed, kneeling before him, my hands finding his despite the sting of rejection I sensed brewing. Levi's eyes, those deep hazel pools that had drowned me in passion, now swirled with tempests. Yeah. The man who prayed over me every night, begging God to cure the devil in my blood. Last year, after Mom found out about me, he made me get this. Said it was my apology to the family, to him. A promise I'd fight it. His laugh was bitter, a rasp that echoed off the walls. I lasted 2 months in conversion therapy before I bolted back to the city. But the ink stays. Like a brand. My stomach twisted, bile rising at the thought of those sterile rooms, the counselors with their false smiles and electric prayers. I'd grown up in Harlem, where my Jamaican immigrant parents preached acceptance wrapped in church hymns. Love thy neighbor, even if he loved men. But Levi's world was different. Small-town Georgia roots transplanted to Brooklyn, where the magnolia scent clung to his skin like a ghost. We'd built our bubble carefully, late-night walks in Prospect Park, where fireflies lit our confessions. Stolen weekends in my tiny walk-up, bodies mapping each other like uncharted territories. Yet here was the fracture line, the one he'd hidden under high collars and higher walls. "Tell me everything," I said, voice steady despite the quake inside. Levi hesitated, then spilled it like rain on hot pavement. His father, Reverend Elias Hawthorne, pillar of the community back in Savannah, had discovered Levi's journal, pages filled with sketches of boys' profiles, poems about lips like forbidden fruit. The confrontation had been biblical. Screams echoing through the clapboard house, Bible verses hurled like stones. "You're my son," the Reverend had roared. "But this is an abomination." Levi's mother, tear-streaked and silent, had watched as her husband dragged him to the therapist, the tattoo parlor a twisted olive branch. "He said it would remind me of the chains binding me to righteousness," Levi murmured, tracing the ink with a finger. "But all it did was chain me to shame." I pulled him close, his head resting on my shoulder, the denim rough against my cheek. Outside, the world buzzed on, hipsters haggling over flannel shirts, the distant wail of an ambulance slicing the afternoon haze. In here, time suspended, our breaths sinking like a slow jazz riff. "You're not chained anymore," I whispered, lips brushing his temple. "Not to him. Not to this." Levi lifted his head, I searching mine, vulnerability cracking his armor. Then, soft as snowfall, he kissed me. Not the hungry clashes of our usual passion, but a tender press, tasting of salt and surrender. The curtain swayed gently, a veil between us and the judgmental eyes beyond. We emerged from vintage vortex hand in hand, the jacket forgotten on the bench, a casualty of truth's sharp edge. The Brooklyn streets welcomed us with autumn's crisp bite, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle promises. Levi's fingers laced through mine, tighter than before, as if afraid I'd slip away. "Dinner at that Thai place?" I suggested, nodding toward the neon glow of Siam Square. He nodded, a ghost of a smile playing on his lips. "Yeah." And then, home, home. The word hung between us, laden with meaning. My apartment was our sanctuary, walls plastered with my photos. Levi laughing at Coney Island, wind-tousled hair against the Ferris wheel's spin. Us silhouetted on the High Line, city sprawl bowing at our feet. That night, as rain pattered against the fire escape like impatient fingers, we cooked pad thai from a kit, laughter bubbling over spilled peanuts. Levi's tattoo caught the lamplight, a dark sentinel on his skin. After dinner, we curled on the futon, his head in my lap as I ran fingers through his curls. "Isaiah," he said, voice muffled against my thigh, "what if he finds out about us? Thanksgiving's in 2 weeks. Mom's begging me to come down. Say it'll heal the family." The air grew heavy again, the storm from the fitting room lingering like humidity before a squall. I swallowed hard, visions of pitchforks and disownment flashing unbidden. Then we face it. Together. Or we don't go. But Levi shook his head. Sitting up, his expression a war of longing and dread. I have to. For her. Mom's the only one who still looks at me like I'm whole. We made love then, slow and deliberate, bodies a language of reassurance. Kisses trailing from collarbone to hip, whispers of "you're enough," etched into sweat-slick skin. In the afterglow, tangled limbs and cooling sheets, I traced the tattoo once more. This doesn't define you, Levi. We do. The days blurred into a haze of normalcy laced with tension. By day, I slung lattes at the corner cafe, stealing glances at Levi across the counter as he sketched in his notebook. Portraits of us, imagined futures in watercolor washes. Evenings were ours, jazz clubs in the West Village, where saxophones wailed our unspoken fears. Rooftop parties where queer joy pulsed like a heartbeat, defying the world's cruelties. But the tattoo haunted us, a third presence in our bed, whispering doubts. Levi's calls home grew shorter, his laughter forced, until one night, post-midnight, his phone shattered the silence. Dad wants me there early, he said, pacing the kitchenette, phone clutched like a grenade. Says there's a family intervention. Mom sounded scared. Isaiah. What if they lock me in again? I crossed the room, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of turpentine and takeout. They won't. You're not a kid anymore. And you've got me backup, getaway driver, whatever. He clung tighter, breath hitching. Promise you won't let me break? The question pierced deeper than any needle. Promise. Thanksgiving dawned gray and unforgiving, the Amtrak pulling into Savannah under skies heavy with unshed rain. Levi's hand trembled in mine as we stepped onto the platform, magnolias mocking us with their stoic bloom. The drive to the Hawthorne manse was a funeral procession. Spanish moss draping oaks like veils, the Reverend's colonial home looming with its white columns and wraparound porch, a facade of Southern grace hiding rot within. Mrs. Hawthorne, Eleanor, with her soft curls and sorrowful eyes, greeted us at the door, her hug for Levi fierce, for me polite but probing. Isaiah, dear. Levi's told us. Bits about you. Her voice wavered, a tightrope over abyss. Dinner was a minefield. Turkey carved with precision. Sweet potato casserole passed in silence broken only by the Reverend's booming prayers. Elias Hawthorne was a monolith, silver temples, voice like rolling thunder, eyes that dissected Levi over the cranberry sauce. Son, he said midway through. Fork paused midair. We've missed you. And this friend of yours. Tell us, Isaiah, what do you do in that godless city? The table froze, silverware tinkling like warning bells. I met his gaze, steady as the lens I peered through. I capture beauty, sir. The kind that doesn't fit in frames. Levi's foot nudged mine under the table, a silent lifeline. But the Reverend's smile didn't reach his eyes. Beauty. The Bible speaks of true beauty, in submission to the Lord. The air crackled, Eleanor's hand fluttering to her throat. Levi cleared his throat, voice barely above a murmur. Dad, Isaiah's. He's important to me. The words hung, a gauntlet thrown. Elias's face darkened, the storm breaking. Important? Boy, you've strayed far from the path. That mark on your chest, it's a start, but you need more. We're family here to save you. The explosion came swift, plates shoved aside, voices rising in a cacophony of scripture and sobs. Levi stood, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. Save me? From what? Loving who I am. Elias lunged. Not with fists but words sharper than blades. You're sick, Levi. An affront to everything I built, Eleanor wailed, collapsing into her chair, while I pulled Levi back, heart pounding. Enough, I growled, the Harlem steel in my spine rising. You don't get to break him again. We fled into the night, Levi's bag slung over my shoulder, the rental car tires squealing on gravel. Rain lashed the windshield as we barreled toward the highway, Savannah's lights fading like dying embers. Levi wept silently, head against the window, the tattoo burning under his shirt like accusation. I'm sorry, he choked. I thought. Maybe. I gripped the wheel, jaw set. Don't be. We're free now, but freedom tasted like ash. The betrayal not just his father's, but the illusion we'd clung to that love could mend blood ties without cost. Back in Brooklyn, the city embraced us with indifferent arms. Winter crept in, frosting the brownstones and our fragile peace. Levi threw himself into art, canvases blooming with raw emotion, fractured hearts in electric blues, chains dissolving into rainbows. I shot a series on queer resilience, portraits of us in fitting rooms, curtains drawn like confessions. Our love deepened, forged in fire, nights of fevered touches, mornings of coffee and quiet vows. Yet the call came on a sleety December eve, shattering the glass we'd rebuilt. Eleanor, voice quavering over the line. Levi, honey. Your father's had a stroke. He's asking for you. For forgiveness. Levi froze, phone slipping from numb fingers. The room spun, our sanctuary tilting. He. What? I caught him as he swayed, the tattoo a specter between us. Go, I said, though every fiber screamed no. But not alone, he nodded, eyes glassy. Together, the return to Savannah was a pilgrimage through hell's antechamber. Hospital corridors reeking of antiseptic and despair, monitors beeping like accusatory metronomes. Elias lay pale and shrunken, tubes snaking from arms once raised in judgment. His eyes, when they fluttered open, locked on Levi not with fire, but flicker of something human. Son, he rasped, voice a whisper of wind through moss. I saw it. In the dark. My chains. On you, Levi approached, hesitant as a fawn, my hand at his back an anchor. Dad. What followed was no Hollywood redemption, no teary hugs or instant absolution. Elias spoke in fragments. Regrets for the prayers that wounded, the cure that cursed. Feared losing you to the world, but lost you to my fear. Eleanor sobbed beside the bed, holding Levi's hand for the first time without shame. I stood sentinel, camera forgotten, witnessing the unraveling of a man's dogma into dust. Levi didn't forgive, not fully, not yet. But he stayed, through the long nights of vigil, his tattoo fading to a scar under healing light. Spring bloomed tentative, cherry blossoms dusting Brooklyn like confetti from a half-hearted parade. Elias survived, frail but changed, letters arriving sporadically, halting apologies scrawled in shaky script. Levi read them aloud on our fire escape, voice steadying with each word. He's trying, he said one dusk, head on my shoulder. Not perfect, but human. I kissed his temple, the city humming below. Like us, our story didn't end in grand gestures. No Vegas elopement under neon vows. No triumphant family reunion. Instead, it wove into the fabric of ordinary miracles. Levi's first gallery show. My photos of him hung beside abstracts of release. Lazy Sundays in bed. Tracing tattoos turned talismans. Betrayal's shadow lingered. A reminder that love's mosaic holds cracks, but doesn't shatter if mended with care. In the mirror of our shared gaze, we saw not perfection, but possibility, the humanistic truth that forgiveness, like attraction, blooms not despite flaws, but through them. And on quiet nights, when the city's roar softened to a lullaby, Levi would pull back the curtain of our bedroom window, revealing the skyline stunned into stars. "Look," he'd say, arm around my waist. "That's us." Stunned. Yes, by grace, by grit, by the stunning revelation that love, in all its dramatic, emotional, romantic rawness, endures. The gallery opening was a whirlwind of clinking glasses and murmured critiques, the air thick with the scent of overpriced Chardonnay and fresh varnish. Levi hovered near his centerpiece, a triptych titled Unchained Echoes, where chains morphed from iron to iridescent threads, weaving through portraits of shadowed figures embracing under fractured skies. I watched from across the room, my own exhibit tucked in a corner. Black and white shots of queer New Yorkers, their stories etched in glances and graffiti-scarred walls. Critics buzzed around him like moths to flame, but his eyes sought mine, a silent pull across the crowd. "Impressive," a silver-haired curator drawled, adjusting her bifocals on Levi's tattoo, now partially visible under an unbuttoned collar. The symbolism, the personal stake. "It's visceral," Levi flushed, fingers twitching as if to cover the ink. But he held steady. "Thanks." From life, I smiled into my plastic cup, pride swelling like the East River at high tide. 6 months since Savannah, and Levi had transformed, no longer the boy hiding scars, but a man wielding them like brushes. The night peaked with a toast. Eleanor, flown up for the occasion, raising her glass with trembling grace. "To my son," she said, voice carrying over the hum, "who taught me chains are meant to be broken." The room applauded, but Levi's gaze locked on me, gratitude unspoken but electric. Later, as the crowd thinned, we slipped into the back alley, the city's pulse thrumming through chain-link fences. "You did this," he murmured, backing me against cool brick, lips claiming mine with the hunger of survivors. Our kiss was a reclamation, tongues tracing apologies never voiced, hands mapping freedom's hard-won. But joy, in our world, was ever shadowed. The next morning, sunlight slanting through blinds like accusatory fingers, Levi's phone lit with a voicemail from an unknown Georgia number. His face paled as he listened, crumpling the device in his fist. "It's him. Dad's lawyer. The will. He changed it before the stroke. Left everything to some ministry fund, except a trust for me, but only if I renounce." The word hung, venomous. Renounce. The life we'd built on Brooklyn's resilient bones. I sat up, sheets pooling at my waist, the room tilting. "What the actual fuck?" Levi laughed. Hollow. Classic Elias. Even dying, he preaches. The lawyer says it's redemption money. For therapy, marriage to a good woman, or I walk away with nothing. Rage boiled in my veins, hot as summer asphalt. Screw that. We don't need his blood money. But Levi's eyes darkened, the poet in him warring with the orphan. It's not about the cash, Isaiah. It's Mom. The house is in the trust too. If I sign, she keeps the roof over her head. If not, foreclosure by spring. The conflict clawed deeper than before, betrayals sequel sharper for its timing. We danced around money. My barista tips and sporadic photo gigs barely covering rent. Levi's freelance illustrations a feast or famine lifeline. Now, Elias's ghost dangled security like bait on a hook, laced with poison. We fight it, I insisted, pulling him close, our naked forms a bulwark against the chill. Legal aid. Queer orgs, they eat this shit for breakfast. Levi nodded against my chest. But doubt lingered, a serpent in our garden. Days bled into strategy sessions. Coffee-fueled meetings with pro bono attorneys in midtown high-rises, their suits crisp as their advice. Contestable on undue influence. But it'll drag. Levi paced my apartment. Sketches piling like fallen leaves. Cartoons of suited devils. Chains morphing to dollar signs. Eleanor called nightly, her voice a tightrope. He didn't mean to hurt, baby. Stroke changed him, but old habits. I'd eavesdrop from the kitchen, kettle whistling my frustration. One night, after hanging up, Levi shattered, a mug hurled against the wall, coffee splattering like abstract rage. Why can't he just let go? He roared, sinking to the floor, sobs racking his frame. I knelt, gathering shards both ceramic and emotional. Because he's scared, like you were. But you broke free. He might too. Levi's head snapped up, eyes red-rimmed. And if he doesn't, do I do Mom for us? The question pierced, forcing us to confront the romance's underbelly. Love's cost, measured in evictions and eroded trusts. That night, we didn't make love too raw, too tangled. Instead, we held vigil, bodies spooned in silence, the city's distant sirens a dirge for what-ifs. Winter's grip loosened grudgingly, crocuses pushing through concrete cracks like defiant queers at a pride march. The legal battle escalated. Depositions in a sterile Savannah conference room, where Elias, wheelchair-bound, eyes milky, faced his son across oak tables. I did it for your soul, he wheezed, lawyer at his elbow like a devil's advocate. Levi, suit ill-fitting and voice steel, countered, my soul's not yours to auction. I sat beside him, hand under the table a clandestine anchor, photographing nothing but memorizing every flinch. Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Turns out, Elias had confided in a friend, a deacon with designs on the Reverend's widow, whispering of protecting the flock by sidelining the wayward son. Eleanor uncovered it during a hushed hospital visit, confronting her husband in a scene straight from Greek tragedy. She relayed it to us over FaceTime, face gaunt but fierce. I won't let him unravel us further. Sign nothing, Levi. We'll sell what we must. Her words were a bomb, but the wound festered. Family, once sanctuary, now a siege. Climax crested in April, under dogwood blooms heavy with pollen promises. Court date loomed, but Elias summoned us to the manse one humid afternoon, air thick as unspoken sins. He waited on the porch, oxygen tank hissing like a serpent, Eleanor at his side with iced tea sweating in glasses. Sit, he commanded, voice friendlier than the wicker chairs. Levi hesitated, but I nudged him forward, our presence a united front. Elias's gaze raked us, lingering on intertwined fingers. I've been reading, he admitted, gesturing to a dog-eared copy of The Velveteen Rabbit on the side table. A children's tale of love made real through wear. About becoming real. Hurts, don't it? What poured out then was no confession booth absolution, but a dam breaking. Admissions of his own hidden youth, a college crush on a roommate, buried under seminary vows. The fear that birthed his fury, projecting shadows onto his son. I chained you to keep you from flying, he rasped, tears carving tracks down weathered cheeks. Levi listened, stone-faced at first, then cracking, hand reaching across the divide to clasp his father's. Then unchain us all, Dad. For real. Elias nodded, the lawyer's papers produced and shredded on the spot. Confetti of capitulation fluttering to the porch boards. Eleanor wept, hugging Levi with a mother's unbridled force, including me in the circle with a whispered, "Thank you." We left as dusk painted the oaks gold. The air lighter, chains invisible but lifting. In the car, Levi exhaled a breath held for years. It's not fixed, he said, hand on my thigh. But it's possible. I leaned over at the stoplight, kissing him salty and sweet. That's our story. Summer unfurled lazy and lush. Brooklyn stoops alive with block parties and bodega runs. The trust settled fairly. Mom's home secured. Levi's share a modest buffer for studio rent downtown. Elias's letters evolved. Questions about our life. Tentative invitations south. We visited once. Barbecue under stars. Awkward but thawing. His hand on Levi's shoulder during grace. Eyes meeting mine with nod. Not thunder. Our romance, tempered by trials, bloomed romantic in mundanity. Picnics in Central Park, where Levi read poetry from a blanket. Voice weaving spells. My lens capturing him asleep on the subway. Lashes fanning like whispered secrets. Conflict lingered in echoes. Nightmares of fitting rooms and falling mirrors. But we met them head-on. Therapy sessions in a sunlit office. Unpacking baggage like old clothes. One August eve, as fireflies danced over the Gowanus, Levi proposed not with rings, but a sketch, us, hand in hand under a bridge of light, titled, Stunned into Forever. Marry me? He asked, knees on gravel. I stunned with love. I pulled him up, yes on my lips before words formed. Our wedding was small, rooftop vows at dusk. Rainbow cufflinks glinting. Eleanor's toast toasting second chances. In the end, humanistic threads wove our tapestry. No flawless happily ever after, but a love stitched from betrayals mended. Emotions raw as open wounds healed to tender skin. Levi's tattoo faded to whisper, a reminder not of chains, but choice. And in mirrors, be they fitting room or marital, we saw reflections whole, stunning in their scarred beauty. Autumn returned like an old lover, leaves turning crimson apologies for summer's fleeting heat. Our wedding photos arrived in a manila envelope, me in linen slacks, Levi in that vintage denim jacket from our fateful fitting room day, arms wrapped around each other on the rooftop, Manhattan's spires bowing in the background. I pinned one to the fridge, us mid-laugh, eyes locked in that stunned revelation of yes. Life settled into rhythms poetic and profound. Levi's commissions rolling in from ad agencies craving his authentic edge, my photography gaining traction with a queer mag spread titled Unfiltered Frames. But peace, for us, was a vigilant guest. Elias's health waned. Calls from Eleanor laced with coded urgency. He's asking for stories. Levi. About you too. We'd send care packages, photos of gallery walls, Sketches of Brooklyn stoops, bridges built brick by vulnerable brick. One crisp October weekend, we boarded the train south, Levi's hand fidgeting with a new sketchbook, pages filled with imagined futures. A house with a studio wing, garden for Eleanor's roses. Savannah welcomed us warmer than before, Spanish moss softer in the slanting light. The manse felt less mausoleum, more memory palace. Elias in his recliner by the bay window, oxygen mask dangling like a forgotten prop. "Boys," he greeted, the word a milestone, voice wheezy but warm. Levi knelt, showing sketches. I hovered, snapping candids, the Reverend's gnarled hand on his son's knee, a tableau of tentative truce. Dinner was collaborative. Eleanor's fried chicken, my jerk seasoning twist, Levi's vegan sides a nod to our city's eclectic pulse. Conversation flowed haltingly, Elias probing about the wedding, eyes widening at tales of drag toasts and subway serenades. Sounds. Lively, he allowed, a chuckle bubbling through phlegm. That night, in the guest room with its floral wallpaper peeling like old sins, Levi traced my spine with fingers that trembled. He's really trying, he whispered, body arching into mine under quilts heavy with history. Our lovemaking was reverent, slow-burn worship, kisses like communions, hips a dialogue of devotion. Afterward, sweat cooling, he confessed, I forgive him, Isaiah. Not all at once, but enough. I held him closer, heart full as the moon spilling silver through lace curtains. Forgiveness, we'd learned, wasn't erasure but expansion, a heart's chambers growing to hold the hurt. Back north, winter's teeth sank deeper, holidays a gauntlet of chosen family feasts. Our first Christmas as husbands was a mosaic, tree strung with photo ornaments, fitting room selfies, Savannah porches, gifts exchanged by candlelight. Levi's for me, a custom lens filter, etched with stunned forever. Mine for him, a leather-bound journal, first page inked Unchain the Poet. We made love by the tree, ornaments tinkling like blessings, the city's snow-muffled roar a lullaby outside. Spring brought blooms and blows. Elias's decline accelerated, a fall fracturing hip and hope. Hospital vigils became routine, Levi flying solo some weeks, me joining for the long hauls. One rain-lashed night, as monitors flatlined their dirge, Elias gripped Levi's hand, eyes clear as polished oak. Tell your mother. I loved her fierce. And you, both of you, fly free. No more chains. His last breath was a sigh, release rippling through the room like pond stones. Levi collapsed against me, sobs seismic, Eleanor keening soft hymns. We buried him under magnolias, eulogy Levi's, a poem of shadows lifted, love's light unyielding. Grief draped us like widow's weeds, days blurring in black. Levi withdrew into canvases dark as midnight, abstracts of voids, chains coiling into voids. I captured it all, his silhouette against studio windows, rain streaking glass like tears. Therapy anchored us, sessions where we unpacked the Reverend's ghost, laughter seeping in like dawn. He freed us in dying. Levi mused one session, voice raw. The therapist nodded. I squeezed his hand. Humanistic healing. Not linear, but layered. Loss of fertilizer for growth. Summer scorched. Our anniversary a phoenix rising. We escaped to Fire Island. Dunes whispering secrets. Waves crashing confessions. Beach walks hand in hand. No hiding, queer paradise where bodies bronzed unashamed. One twilight, bonfire crackling, Levi pulled a vial from his pocket. Ash from Elias's urn, scattered into surf with murmured thanks. To chains dissolved, he toasted, lips salty on mine. That night, under stars pricked like promises, our love reignited, fierce, fluid, fingers interlaced as tides pulled us deeper. Fall circled back, gallery circuits calling. Levi's solo show, echoes unbound, sold out, critics raving about visceral vulnerability. The tattoo now a signature flourish in self-portraits. I curated a companion exhibit. Reflected stuns. Images of us through mirrors cracked and whole. Opening night, Eleanor arrived, arm in arm with a cousin, her first outing post-widowhood. Smile tentative but true. Proud, she said, hugging Levi, then me. Of this life you built. Yet conflict simmered subtle. Levi's rising star pulled him toward LA Scouts, whispers of Hollywood storyboards. It's a chance, he said over diner eggs, fork pushing yolk like doubts. My gut twisted, New York's grit our glue, uprooting a rupture. And us, pressed, voice edged. He reached across, thumb stroking my knuckle. Portable. You're my constant. Nights frayed into arguments. Me citing roots in Harlem kin. Him dreaming of wider frames. Betrayal's specter. Ambition versus anchor. Love tested by latitude. Climax brewed in November chill. A call from the coast. Script gig. 6 months. Levi paced our loft. Now shared walls echoing with tension. Say yes, I urged, heart aching. But come back, he did, packing light, kisses lingering like farewells. Airport goodbye was a gut punch. His boarding, my standing, tears blurring the gate. Stunned without you, he texted from 30,000 feet. Months stretched, FaceTimes flickering like faulty reels, his hotel sunsets, my snow-dusted stoops. Loneliness gnawed, hookups tempting but rejected, his calls laced with miss your touch, then, betrayal's twist, a tabloid blip, Levi papped arm in arm with a co-writer, bromance headlines winking innuendo. Panic clawed, I scrolled, heart hammering. His call came frantic, Isaiah, this nothing networking lunch. I swear, voice breaking, I confessed fears, feels like chains again. Pulling you away, he flew back midnight, bursting into the apartment reeking of jet fuel and jasmine. No more distance, he vowed, dropping to knees, ring box materializing, simple band, engraved, unstunned. Wait, no, the proposal redux, but earnest. Stay, or I quit. I hauled him up, yes, fierce as our first stunned reveal. We go together. LA's just a scene, not the story. Resolution humanistic. Compromise carved. 6-month trial. My remote shoots tagging along. We sublet the loft. Eleanor's blessing a postcard rose. Love's drama ebbed to romantic hum. Palm-lined walks. His sketches of us against Hollywood hills. My lens framing billboards as backdrops. Betrayals past paled. We'd learned emotions arc bends toward light. In mirrors of motel vanities, we saw it, 2 men, scarred but stunning, love a reflection infinite. LA sprawled like a dream deferred, palm fronds rattling in Santa Ana winds that carried salt and stardust. Our bungalow in Silver Lake perched on a hillside, windows framing the Hollywood sign like a cheeky postcard. Hooray for us! Levi dove into the gig, storyboarding a queer indie flick, Fractured frames. Echoes of our fitting room epiphany in every scene. I freelanced portraits, actors unmasked, their vulnerabilities kin to ours, while scouting sunsets that bled orange into infinity. Honeymoon phase redux. Mornings tangled in 400 thread sheets. Coffee brewed on a deck overlooking cacti sentinels. Evenings at dive bars where queer choruses sang Springsteen anthems. But the city's glamour chafed. Superficial schmoozes where Levi's authenticity shone like a flare, drawing vultures. You're gold. A producer slurred at a pool party, hand lingering too long on Levi's arm. I pulled him away, jaw tight. Schmucks, he laughed. But unease seated. Fame's flirtations, temptations tailored to the lonely. Eleanor's visits bridged coasts, her landing in LAX. Hugs scented with magnolia lotion. Tours of Griffith Observatory where she marveled at stars closer than savannas. Over tamales, she'd share updates, church friends thawing, a widow's group blooming friendships. Your dad's shadow fades, she'd say, eyes misty. Thanks to you boys, Levi beamed, sketching her profile against succulence, matriarch unbound, yet conflict coiled subtle, my homesickness, a quiet beast gnawing at ribs. New York's pulse, subway symphonies, Harlem's soul food haunted dreams. It's temporary, Levi soothed during canyon hikes, his hand warm in mine. But shoots pulled him longer, location scouts in Joshua Tree, nights in trailers scripting passion plays. Loneliness echoed in empty bungalow, my camera idle, capturing dust motes dancing solo. Betrayal struck sly, a script assistant blonde, ambitious, eyes hungry for more than mentorship. Whispers reached me via a mutual. Late nights, too close, paranoia bloomed, thorns pricking trust rebuilt so painstakingly. Confrontation brewed over takeout tacos. My voice sharp, who's Kyle? Levi's fork dropped, face paling. Colleague. Collaborator. Nothing more, but text surfaced, emojis winking. Can't wait for our brainstorm. Innocent or invitation? The fight erupted volcanic. Accusations hurled like lava. Levi storming to the deck. Me pacing linoleum scarred by doubts. After everything, Savannah. The will. The miles you think I'd. He yelled, voice cracking over the hum of traffic below. I deflated, sinking beside him, head in hands. Fears the chain now. Not him. Us. Tears mingled with wind-whipped hair. He pulled me close. Apologies whispered into collarbones. Only you. Always. We made love on the deck chaise. Stars witnesses urgent. Reaffirming. Bodies banishing ghosts. Climax crested midshoot. Levi's film wrapped. Premiere invite golden ticket. But Kyle cornered him post-party. Confession spilling. Crush admitted. Rebuffed gently. He told me about you. Stunned him into sense. Levi related over Rose. My relief laced with guilt. We communicate, I vowed. Toasting no more shadows. The premiere was magic. Red carpet where Levi dedicated the film to the man who revealed me. My hand in his underflashes. Critics lauded. A stunning portrait of love's raw edges. Summer waned. Our trial term ticking. Decision night. Deck picnic under string lights. Pros cons scribbled on napkins. LA's opportunities versus NY's soul. Brooklyn, we chorused. Laughter bubbling. But visits. Hybrids. Eleanor cheered via Zoom. Toasting from her porch swing. Return train north felt triumphant. Skyline re-embracing like prodigal sons. Fall deepened. Gallery circuits reignited. Levi's LA Interlude series. Palms chaining into bridges. Sold brisk. My coast-to-concrete photos chronicled our odyssey. Holidays healed further. Thanksgiving in Savannah. Table set for mending. Eleanor's turkey. My jerk twist. Levi's poems as grace. No reverend's thunder. Just warmth weaving wounds closed. Winter whispered romances. Ice skating at Rockefeller. Levi's gloved hand steadying my wobbles. New Year's Eve on our fire escape. Fireworks stunning the dark. Emotions tide-ebb dramatic but ebbing. Therapy check-ins. Date nights dissecting dreams. Betrayals lessons. Vigilance voluntary. Trust a muscle flex daily. Spring surprised with seed. Eleanor's announcement. A bundle on the way, no. Wait. A surprise visit from a long-lost aunt. Family expanding like hearts. We hosted a barbecue. Stoop crowded with kin chosen and blood. Laughter drowning old echoes. Summer solstice. Anniversary second. Picnic redux. But with rings exchanged anew. Vows refreshed under bridge lights. Stunned still. Levi murmured. Lips on mine. Lovemaking followed. Languid as river flow. Fingers tracing tattoos faded to memory. Bodies a testament to endurance. Humanistic arc. Life's plot twists not to torment, but teach. Love's climax in quiet climaxes. Conflicts catalysts for closer. In fitting rooms of fate, we pulled curtains bold, revealing not stuns of shock, but wonders woven. Yet, autumn's cusp brought subtle storm. Levi's diagnosis. Slipped disc from desk hunching. Pain shooting like lightning. Creativity cramped. Hospital hush. MRI whirs echoing fears. I'll adapt. He grit. Cane clicking like metronome. I became caregiver. Meals massaged into laps. Sketches propped on easels high. Resentment flickered mine. Why now? But his smile disarmed. Teaches tenderness. Therapy tandem. Unpacking provider roles. Vulnerability's value. Eleanor shipped care baskets. Southern sweets. Notes bend. Don't break. Recovery crawled. But crawled forward. Yoga for spines. Art for souls. Premiere of his film streamed home. Accolades a bomb. Winter wrapped gentle. Holidays hybrid. Zoom toasts with LA friends. New Year's. Resolutions whispered. Flex together. Spring's thaw mirrored ours. Physical therapy triumphs. Canvases reborn fluid. Summer bloomed boundless. Exhibition duo. Bent but unbroken. His abstracts of spines arching free. My portraits of resilient forms. Critics cooed. Humanity in every curve. Climax quiet. Proposal to Eleanor, move north? Her yes tearful. Savannah sold. Brooklyn brownstone bought joint. Family frontier. Levi quipped. Packing boxes with care. Fall's foliage framed our new nest. Studio sunlit. Garden plot for roses. Emotions palette. Dramatic dabs faded to romantic washes. Humanistic hues of help. In mirrors manifold, we reflected. Love, stunning in its steady stun. The brownstone breathed history. Creaky stairs whispering of immigrants past. Bay windows framing Prospect Park's verdant sprawl. Our first night, boxes half unpacked. Levi lit candles on the mantel. Shadows dancing like old friends. Home, he said, pulling me to the rug. Lovemaking a christening, slow, sacred. Sills rattling with autumn gusts. Eleanor's arrival next morn was chaos joyful. Suitcases stuffed with linens. recipes scrawled on index cards. "Room for a Southern belle?" she teased, hugging us fierce. The third floor became hers. Cozy garret with park views, widow's weeds traded for widow's wings. Life layered richer. Mornings of shared coffee. Levi sketching at the oak table while Eleanor hummed hymns updated queer. Afternoons me shooting weddings downtown, capturing vows that echoed ours. Levi's back mended methodical Pilates in the basement. Canvases propped ergonomic productivity surging. Commissions from Broadway sets. Props with soul, he grinned, inking scenes of star-crossed lovers unchained. Conflict crept domestic. Eleanor's church nostalgia clashing our secular Sundays. Suggestions of inclusive congregations met with Levi's flinch. "Mom, we're good with bagels and brunches." I mediated. Heart-bridging gaps. Joint outings to queer mass at St. Bart's. Her awe at rainbow vestments softening edges. Betrayal's ghost. Generational, but gentled by grace. Conversations over pie. Her admitting your dad feared change. I embrace it now. Climax brewed seasonal. Holiday hosting. Kin converging. My Harlem clan with jerk chicken cauldrons. Eleanor's cousins with pecan pies. LA friends jetting east for eggnog toasts. Table groaned under platters. Laughter louder than any storm. But mid-feast, Levi winced. Back seizing mid-carve, fork clattering. Face ashen. Panic rippled. I eased him to couch. Eleanor fetching ice. Guests murmuring concern. "Just a twinge," he gasped. But eyes betrayed fear relapses shadow. Hospital dash. Our lights harsh as judgments. Scans confirming spasm. Not snap. Relief flooded. But reckoning followed. Levi's confession in the dim ward. Pushed too hard. For the show. I stroked his hair. Eleanor praying soft beside. "Rest is rebellion too," I said. Recovery redux. Bed rest enforced. Art dictated from recline. Eleanor shone. Soups simmered. Stories spun of her youth's hidden heartaches. A college flirtation veiled in verse. Spring's renewal mirrored mending. Park picnics where Levi sketched cherry blossoms unfurling. Back brace discarded like old skin. My exhibit, familial frames, open to acclaim. Portraits blending blood and chosen. Eleanor's profile central. Eyes alight with late bloom liberty. Critics noted. A stunning tapestry of ties retied. Summer solstice party. Backyard strung with lanterns. Drag queens DJing anthems. Neighbors mingling with magnolia punch. Levi danced ginger, hips swaying cautious. My arms his compass. Eleanor's toast. To chains we chose to cherish. Cheers rose. Fireworks stunning the night. Fall deepened bonds. Collaborative project. Levi's illustrations for my photo book, Unstunned Lives. Queer narratives from coast to coast. Book tour launched modest. Brooklyn launch packed. Readings raw with fitting room anecdotes anonymized. In Chicago, a fan's tearful, "You gave me courage" pierced. Levi squeezed my hand under podium. Winter whispered wonders. First snow blanketing the garden. Eleanor building snow queens with scarves rainbowed. Holidays hybrid heartful, virtual toasts to absent. Presents prized. New Year's. Vow renewals on the stoop. Rings kissed under midnight moon. Emotions evolution. Dramatic peaks plateaued romantic. Humanistic depths plumbed daily. Acts small as coffee runs. Profound as forgiveness forums. Betrayal's embers cool to wisdom's glow. Love labors, but lightens loads. One crisp autumn dawn. Years woven tight. Levi pulled me to the attic, our first shared space, now area of art. "Remember the curtain?" he asked, unfolding a vintage drape from storage. "Mothballed memory." I nodded, heart hitching. He drew it dramatic, revealing a mirror antique, etched with our initials intertwined. "Stunned then, stunned now," he murmured, backing me against it, kiss deepening to promise. Life's plot, we knew, curved, unpredictable, health hiccups, career curves, kin complexities. Yet in that reflection fractured no more. We saw truth, stunning not in perfection, but persistence. Love's genre: dramatic, emotional, romantic, humanistic, American as apple pie with a queer twist, sweet, tart, utterly ours. And so, curtains drawn on chapters closed, we stepped forward, hands linked, hearts unchained, ready for whatever revelation next.